Many people have been interested since the release of the second episode of the amazing digital Circus, where Gummigoo disappeared. Did Kane delete it permanently? And why did he actually do it at all? Hello everyone, Circus Theory is with you. Subscribe to the channel, like it, and finally click on this bell. And we're starting. We are going back to our circus tent again to try to figure out the mysteries and riddles here. Gummigoo is loved by many fans of the digital circus. We will touch on the reasons for our story and ask ourselves if Gummigoo had a chance to stay in the circus and become a real friend for Pomni, and where did he go at all? Is our good old Gummigoo alive? There are no clear answers, although there are some details that we can cling to and try to guess how bad everything is. Perhaps someone will not like these conclusions, or maybe someone will understand the essence of the digital circus as the universe in which our heroes live. To begin with, let's ask the main question. Why did Kane delete Gummigoo at all? In principle, it is not difficult to guess why Kane did this. He voices the reason himself. If Kane starts confusing the NPC with a human, who knows what might happen? It must be something terrible. But what happens if one NPC from another card gets into the tent? Why wouldn't the player who likes this NPC make a friend for him? And it's enough to just leave it, but the problem is much deeper than it seems at first glance. In general, it is worth understanding Kane is part of the digital circus system. He keeps order and does not allow any errors in the system, even the most minor ones. Gummigoo itself is a system error, and it became one only after it flew off the map and eventually met its own model. That is, not when he entered the tent, but earlier. The system does not provide for NPCs to fly off the map and gain their own identity. This is already considered a system error, and for good Gummigoo should have been erased as soon as it flew off the map, and then returned to the starting position or to the quest location, as happens in some games. But apparently, everything is completely different here. Under the circumstances of mistakes, the character can still leave the map, and then he realizes that he is not real. Moreover, he gets out of the place for which he was created. Kane noticed this problem and just fixed it. But if we assume, could Gummigoo theoretically stay in the circus? No, because as I said earlier, it would be a system error. Kane himself expressed concern for this situation because it is not known what will happen if NPCs start going beyond their map with the quest assigned to them. They are just obstacles that need to be overcome, Gummigoo said, and he is right. The whole point of his existence was precisely this, to fulfill his function as an opponent while having some kind of background embedded in his mind so that the NPC could not be a cardboard opponent, but what kind of personality and have a character, and it's not even so much that Kane began to confuse the NPCs with real people. The bottom line is that Kane simply does not need to make system errors like NPC penetration into the tent, or even beyond its own quest location. After all, this is not according to the plan of the system. It doesn't matter if the character flew out by accident or by invitation. I think Kane can easily distinguish NPCs from humans. After all, he immediately recognized the pilot as a human being. And when Gummigoo came in the second episode, it also immediately became clear to him who was superfluous here. Perhaps Kane, having said this phrase, only generalized, if he starts making an exception, then the system of the digital world may come to an end, and therefore it is so important for him not to make any exceptions, and, if anything, delete the NPC if he got into the wrong place. Now it's time to ask another question that interests everyone. Is Gummigoo alive? Did Kane kill him? Actually, let's start with the words Regatha. She said that Kane likes to re-add NPCs, so maybe he'll come back. Maybe Kane will ask Pomni about it, and if it does not contradict the system, Kane will add it again, but most likely it is not so. And it is unlikely that Kane will make any exceptions. The whole point of people staying in the circus is like, as Pomni said, role-playing and all the interaction of a person, that is, a player with an NPC, this is a quest. Everything is limited to them. So if Gummigoo returns again, then in some other quest. Many have expressed an interesting theory that Gummigoo was not deleted, but teleported back to Candy Canyon. But it was transferred not as a character, but back to the model. But how is it if the model is separate from it? Most likely, after the quest in the Candy Kingdom of the Canyon, the map was closed and all the characters also disappeared like Gummigoo, or return to their original position to their models, and the map was erased, if their reuse is allowed. So, it will either be for another quest, or they will remain gathering dust for the time being. But will Gummigoo remember Pomni and everything that happened to him? It's a good question. Unfortunately, there is no answer to it yet. But if NPCs are able to be aware of themselves, it is possible that they may retain their memory. However, Kane doesn't care about it, and it's unlikely that the digital circus system provided for any kind of memory or awareness. Therefore, Kane can recreate the models or add them again by giving them a new or previous command. This will mean that those characters will not remember anything if it is not within the scope of the quest. Let's assume that Kane can add the Candy Kingdom location again, but with a new task, so to speak, an update. The memory of the characters can be preserved, since we have already seen Princess Lulilalu, and we do not need to get to know her again. It's the same with the others, but they can only remember their function. After all, as I said earlier, everything that happened with Gummigoo is a system error that Kane fixed. Anyway, here is the answer to the main question, or one of the main questions for us. Is Gummigoo alive, or has he disappeared forever? By and large, Gummigoo has never lived. He is not a living being, oddly enough. But did Kane finally spray it onto atoms, or rather, onto pixels? I wouldn't say that either. Perhaps it was that part of Gummigoo's personality that was destroyed and dissolved, which first performed its assigned function, and then began to realize itself because it flew off the map. Perhaps Gummigoo is alive because there is his model, but he hardly remembers everything. More precisely, he doesn't remember anything. His model was and remains. As soon as the Candy Canyon quest starts again, or with an update, the Gummigoo character will be added again along with the rest, and they will all follow their assigned commands. And it's better to keep this character in the dark, as well as others. After all, after completing the quest, they will all return to their original position, and that makes it pretty sad. But, on the other hand, we all understand that at least he has not completely disappeared. And this scene, as if with the death of Gummigoo, sets a good meaning, especially after what we saw before, when a creature that seems to have realized the meaninglessness of its existence quickly accepts everything as it is and tries to start a new life, but it is immediately deleted. By the way, it seemed strange to me that no one warned Gummigoo. If Ragatha knew that Kane likes to add NPCs repeatedly, then why didn't she know what would happen to Gummigoo as soon as he entered the portal and ended up in the tent? None of the heroes thought about it. Okay, Pomni, she could use some comfort, but the others didn't ask themselves, why is this character coming with them? I'm not even talking about the fact that he would have been better advised to stay here and accept his fate, because he didn't run away from her anyway. But in any case, the scene is very revealing and quite creepy. And what do you think, where did Gummigoo go, and why did Kane actually delete it? Write your thoughts and your theories in the comments.